Welcome back to This Was Supposed to Be Easy, your go-to podcast for connection, joy, and a good dose of laughter.
Hosted by two friends who've seen enough of life to know that it's never as simple as it sounds
or looks.
Each conversation celebrates the diverse journeys we travel, the moments of bravery, the strength we didn't know we had, and the joy we find along the way.
Because let's be honest, life is full of things that were supposed to be easy, but turned out to be harder.
And definitely funnier
than we thought. This is Amy.
And this is Cheryl. And if it were easy, we wouldn't be here.
So Cheryl, we are coming up on the holiday season. And oftentimes with holidays, we are giving some gifts. We're getting gifts, we're giving gifts. And so I thought we could use our time today to talk about what we have learned about giving and getting gifts over our lifetime and some things about that we can pass on to our listeners. What do you think?
Sure. I love it. I'm actually, when I think about the love languages and what fuels me, definitely gift giving is in the top two. So I have a lot of feels when it comes to, I don't know, even, whether I'm really feeling satisfaction in what I've found to give, or if I'm feeling at a loss and it doesn't feel like the right click, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's great. And yes, and as someone who is not a gift giver or even kind of getter as my top two in the love languages, I am much more of a quality time person.
That's my first one.
Is it? Okay. Well, I mean, probably
Yeah.
works really well for us. But I'm more quality times than acts of service. So with those two things, I think we could also have some really good discussion of like giving a gift of quality time or giving a gift of some of those types of things too, and how that might feel like for certain people, they're like, yes. And for other people are like, that's great. But when are you going to actually do that? Type of a thing, and how that might feel too. So let's jump on and talk a little bit about gift giving. I know for myself, I have been thinking a lot about this upcoming holiday season. And, I've mentioned I have 3 children. All of our children are teenagers and above now. And so they are much more in the like, what technology can you give me? It's not quite the same experience of when they were little. And I felt like I was reliving my youth of like, here are Peppa Pig toys and, all of those types of things. They're not as excited for that. And so they are more in the like, I want this big gift. So it might mean only buying 3 or 4 things for all of the kids, based on what they want, where they each kind of get one bigger gift. And even that, but I'm thinking about over the years, the experiences that I have learned when it comes to giving and getting gifts and how that is felt.
Yes. As you were speaking, I had a lot of thoughts going through my head, but I was remembering the year when it was really hard, almost impossible to find the Wii Fit. What was yeah. And we really wanted that. And then I happened to be in Walmart early one morning, and they made an announcement. We have 10. And I was like, get to the back of the store, and I got it. And so then I had to wrap it in disguise. I had to wrap it in disguise, and then I had to put a different, like my sister's name on it or something like that. So it wasn't one that they were feeling and exploring. And so for me, there was this whole time period of anticipation of how will they react when they find out that this is actually their gift, not this other person's gift. And so that idea was coming through my head, and it sort of connects with what you said about like your older children and what they might want. And one of the things for me is that my daughter Taylor is, gifts is really high up there for her. And something that's very important to her is that it's a surprise. She doesn't want to know. She enjoys the surprise. And last year, I felt really great about over the course of the year, I saw things. Someone gave me an idea related to Broadway shows. And I don't know if you remember this, but I found this website where I was able to buy her a ring, and the center of the ring, or the body of the ring, whatever you want to call it, was a piece of the stage floor from Jagged Little Pill,
Mhm.
which had been her top show that she had seen that year. And so I was like, I just couldn't wait to give that to her. Like, I didn't even care if she ever wore it. I just knew that, like, for her, having a piece of the stage from Jagged Little Pill would be so cool. So going into the holiday season, I was so excited because I had found that I had discovered she and I had the same love of a certain kind of kitchen towel. And so I had, bought a set of those, and we ended up giving each other the same thing, those towels. Right. But it felt really good going into that season. Whereas I just said to Kevin last week, I'm like, I am nervous because I haven't thought about gifts this year. I don't have anything excellent waiting in the background. And I've had a couple of years where that felt terrible. Like, I just hated that holiday season because I wasn't excited about what I was able to give.
Yeah. It's interesting too. I think there's room to talk as well. I'm recognizing, or I'm hearing a lot more from individuals who have children that are older now, like, that maybe they're even grandparents and things like that, that their gifts to their family are more like a trip. Like, we're all going here together in lieu of holiday gifts. And that's an interesting concept, one that I can't say that I wouldn't explore in the future.
As you say that, you see a lot about experiential gifts. And I'm just going to throw this out there because also love this idea of experiential gifts, but I've seen it go wrong. And so I think there's a lot of thought that needs to go into that, right? Like, where is the freedom for the recipient to decide when
Mhm.
or who they might be going with, right? Like, so if I'm, as you say, like a big family trip, I remember a long, long time ago, my mom was like, I bought tickets to Hawaii and we're going to go on this date. And I was like, I can't. Like, I can't go then. And so then I felt bad as the receiver. I felt bad and saying, I can't go. You're going to have to find someone else, versus, hey, I want to go to Hawaii with you, and here's your not tickets, right? And we're going to sit down together and find some times that work. You know what I mean? Like, there's this
Yeah.
spectrum of how much freedom I have as the receiver in terms of when and where and how kinds of things that I would think would be important in that process. But love the idea of the experience. I cut
Sure.
you
Well,
off, didn't I?
no, 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 you didn't. No, you're fine. But I think that is a perfect lead in. So even if you did so well. Um no, it's a perfect lead in to kind of one of the things that I think I wanted to touch on is that over the years, one of the things that I've learned about and have kind of some feels are is not to gift an obligation.
Ooh.
And that kind of shows up in different ways. So, like, I think of it this way of as the gift giver, you know what? I'll use an example with my daughter. One year I got her a sweater, and it was a sweater that that I had picked out, but it had a lot of the factors and qualities that I know she really likes. So it wasn't like, oh, I bought her a little mermaid sweater that
And
she's
she's
not wearing as
18.
she's 20, where I'm like, "Yes, it's size 4T. Here you go. I want you to relive your youth." No, it wasn't something like that, but in the sense of, like, giving a gift, and as the gift giver, that is the end of your commitment to the gift. So,
Mm,
like, whether then she chooses to wear said sweater, whether she chooses to regift, donate, put it in the bottom of her drawer, never to be thought of again, or wear it every day is no longer my responsibility. I will be much happier if I let go of any type of expectation to the gift or that. I just think about how disappointment around the holiday times so often comes into like, I got this person a gift and they just clearly didn't like it and they never did anything with it. And now I'm monitoring every interaction I have with them,
mhm.
waiting to see if they used the gift. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen you 5 times in the last 4 months and you've never worn the sweater that I've gotten you. So now instead of just enjoying that person, I'm wondering if they've worn the said sweater, you know?
And they've got to be picking up on that, right? Especially
Right.
if you're asking certain questions and that ends up becoming this not only this expectation of obligation, but now we're acting like we're trying to control something. And that's going to reduce all kinds of quality, right? Quality in the relationship, the gratitude they might have even felt when they received the gift, you know?
Right, right. And so then I think about too, like, I, over the years, especially as my children have gotten a little bit older, when they were little, we had so much stuff at the holiday times. Like, because when they were little, almost exactly what I said earlier, where like it's exciting when little kids, more often for little kids, and you can buy the things that they're really into at that time. But then, of course, some of that might turn into a lot of games and toys and just kind of an overwhelming amount of things. And so I remember between like all of the grandparents and everything, I started asking for more experiences. Like, one of the things that we love to do is we love to go to a local, it's a center for the arts, but a place that they had more like children's activities, science museums, things like that. But we
Mhm.
used that membership every year because we had then had a reciprocal membership to science centers across the country. And so whenever we traveled, instead of stopping off at like a McDonald's or stopping off somewhere else, we would hit up a city that had one of these reciprocal science memberships so the kids could get out of the car, play for a couple hours, and drive a lot further. And
That's cool.
so, over the course of our time, I would say, if you want to gift us something, gift the three kids their yearly membership to the local science center that we could go to and we really used kind of throughout the year. But I also know of individuals who have shared, like, I love that idea, but that's also really hard because I have to be careful who I ask that from because I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I've said this stuff to, like, young parents where I'm not quite at anymore, and they've said, like, "It's great," but then the person in my life was like, "Have you gone? Did you use it? When are you using it? Every use is this much," that was, and it's almost become then an obligation of, "Oh my gosh, I have this membership, now I have to go X times per year to make it feel like it's worthwhile to the other person that gifted it."
I think what I'm hearing you lead me into wondering is why do we give gifts?
I mean, there are times that I ask. I
Right.
do want,
Well,
but
and I mean, like sometimes, yes, sometimes it's like, why are we doing this?
right, right,
Especially, right? Like I'll say extended family and a holiday, and it's like, are we to a point yet where all the nieces and nephews don't, who are now adults, I
right,
like, why do we give gifts? If it's about this, this magical feeling for the children or this close
yeah,
relationship or whatever, there's that piece of it. But also like, isn't the intention of giving a gift to express your love for someone or
yeah,
express your friendship or to connect with another person to further a relationship, and if I think about that being the reason
mhm,
that we're giving a gift, then what you said a few minutes ago is so important. We can't follow that experience, that exchange, that part of the joy. We can't follow that with the obligation, the nagging, the part where the person now wants to hide from you
right,
because you keep bringing it up.
right. And I like the question that you asked, like, because I really do think then we talk a lot about playing to our strengths and knowing our strengths. And so some individuals, especially those that usually love languages like what you had mentioned, like you love giving gifts, you love the feel of giving gifts, you're an excellent gift giver.
And it hurts when I'm not in the right place for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Just
right.
keep putting
Yes.
that part in there. It hurts
Yes.
more.
No, no, no. That's important to
Yeah.
think about. So then for those that are maybe sitting there, maybe a little bit like more like me, who we want to be really good gift givers. And we usually have the capacity to be a good gift giver for about half the people in our life. And then we fight about over in maybe the mental capacity. I grew up with individuals in my life over time that were really good about going to the store and buying like 20 of something and being like, here, I got this for you. But it wasn't really like they got it for me because they thought about me. It was, I got this and now I'm giving you this because I need to give you a gift, which can still be really nice if it's something that I'm like, yes, I could use this. This is cool. Thank you. I think then maybe if we could talk about how do we play to our strengths to say, okay, I'm giving gifts this year because, that's what my family does is we give gifts. How can I how can I enjoy the gift giving process as much as the gift getting process? And also, here's something that I struggle with. I know my family very well, but I also want to make sure I'm giving them something that they are going to enjoy. Like, I want to give them some autonomy over what they get because I don't want to just give them something because I got them something.
Right.
And I've heard this go back and forth two ways. Some people have said, like, do you not know me enough to get me something? Like, you should know what I like because you know me. Or I get this one, which is kind of tough, is the, okay, great, let me think about it. I'm also very guilty of giving that response with never really a follow up of what I want. So then I don't feel like I have any say in what I do get. So I'm just appreciative and grateful for whatever I get. Or you get a list of like 92,000 things and then you have to go through and be like, okay, what kind of meets the parameters of what I might have put on the gift that I'm giving someone? Because
Mhm.
I am a type of person who in the holiday season I work from a budget and I know there are a lot of really interesting ways to kind of go about budgeting for the holiday season. And so I'm not going into the deep dive of that today, but like just so I just say that like so if somebody gives me their laundry list of 4 pages, like my kids would make PowerPoint presentations because I saw that on a TikTok. I have received some parental PowerPoint presentations of this is what we like along with links to that. Helpful, but also like when we're all said and done, you exceeded the budget for yours and all of your siblings. So, like, but then also here's the thing too, when you're working from the list and it's one list and everybody asks that question. So then, like, you give the same list to the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents, the parents, the same list. So, and also I say this for like, if you have if you're sitting there listening as a new parent or a parent of young children
Keep it
and
small.
you're right, yeah, right. But, and you have, and I say new, anything with child age children. But you have people that are saying like, hey, I want to give Tyler, your child a gift. What should I get them? And you're operating with like, oh, well, they're into this, and this. And you gave that same to somebody else
Mhm.
and you gave that same list to somebody else. Now your kid just got 10 packs of baseball cards. I don't know, you can tell how out of sync I am with this example, but like, now your kid just got 10 of the same things because you gave the same list idea to every person. Like,
Yeah.
I know I
Yeah.
threw a lot out there, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on whatever, but you were taking notes. So
I was taking
whatever you
notes.
thought on any of those things, thank you for letting me ramble. But
No,
all the
no,
thoughts,
I was taking
brainstorm.
notes because so many different thoughts hit me while you were talking, and I hope that I can make them coherent. So the first thing I thought about was the idea of maximizing our positive experience as the giver, but also for the recipient and or for children, right? So you gave some children examples, children making lists. And there are so many different outcomes from making lists. So there's a child who learns that if I make a 4-page list or PowerPoint, I should expect to get all of those things.
Yeah,
And I think as the
not
adults,
that.
we make choices that determine in a lot of ways what their eventual expectations will be. And we need to think about that, especially if we're in that, I think if we're in that parenting role. because that can go too far so quickly. At the same time, while you were talking about that, I had this image of myself laying on the floor on the shag carpet in the 70s with the big J.C. Penney's or Sears gift book
Mhm.
catalog, holiday edition, and flipping through those pages and thinking about what I might do if I had this certain sleeping bag or tent that went on my bed or set of pajamas or whatever it was, and dog-earing the pages and circling items, and then my sibling would go through the same book and have a different colored marker, and there was so much magic for me in just the experience of thinking about what it would might be like to have these things. And never in a million years did I think I was going to get all of those things.
Right.
But part of the experience was dreaming about what if this or what if that. I suspect that the PowerPoint version that you talked about is the modern days, and maybe it's something else now. It's that child's J.C. Penney or Sears book experience. And I even, the last couple of years in the mail, have received like an Amazon version of that. Like here's a bunch of the Amazon products we have for this type of person, for that type of person. And it felt magical again for me to go through the Amazon book just thinking, is there anything on this page that sparks an idea for a person in my life? And now I went through, so now I've gone through the Amazon book thinking about other people and could this be a good idea for them? But again, it wasn't that dream of everything I circle has to be purchased and given away or purchased from someone else to be given to me, right? So, in hearing you talk about that, I think as adults, we have a lot of thinking to do about what we set up in terms of expectations for others, for the children, maybe that we're raising. So, I thought of that. Okay. So, that came to my mind. Another thing that's maybe separate from this, but also connected to what you said in terms of thinking about how does Cheryl do it if gifts is number two and in her love languages versus Amy who doesn't have gifts as number one or number two. And I thought about the flexibility, the patterns that we might fall into, right? So, I definitely had a grandma who had this many granddaughters in an age range where she could go to the store and buy 5 of the same thing, and if I saw my cousin open it up, I knew I was gonna get maybe a different color, but we were gonna get the same things. But my grandma loved to shop, so it was a very fun process and fun experience for her, and that emotion for her. But how do we make sure that we can stay pliable or flexible in our patterns if we're the giver, right? So there's letting go, right? There's letting go once we've given the gift. But also, how do we stay flexible in the process of thinking about the holidays? And I'll give you a couple examples of that if that's okay. There have definitely been years where Kevin and I have looked at each other and said, it's more than gift giving this holiday on a budget. It's how can we still make this feel special as one of our favorite holidays and not have maybe hardly anything to spend.
Right.
For several years, we're like, what can we make? And service is Kevin's love language. And I definitely enjoy some time in the kitchen. And so we started this, I'm going to say tradition, but I'm talking about flexibility of what could we make and pack into boxes and send to my family in Washington state, my family in Arizona. So it's not a box arriving in the mail for this person, this person, this person, and this person, but it's a family gift. And so I would make homemade caramels. And one year I made maple cinnamon butter, or we smoked butter one year. We put together some of the venison and fowl hunt, ducks and geese and whatever that Kevin had hunted. And we made some jerky, so these boxes evolved over the years of exactly what might be inside them, but they were things that we made over the course of probably starting in October, but mostly in November, that we could send out to the whole family. There was a year where I was like, I can't, I don't have time for that. And I just found the theater closest to each family and bought them gift certificates to the movie theater, so that they could pick a family movie, go get some stuff from the concessions or whatever. I had this great idea. It worked for a few years, but then there was a point where it didn't work. I'm like, okay, I need to do something different this year. And people are like, where's the jerky? I'm like, maybe next year,
Right.
it'll be okay, and that flexibility, we've done that with our book club, right? Like we have been sort of, in the last couple of years, we've had an event and we've given gifts. And every year we're like, are we going to keep doing that? Or maybe we take a break on the gift, and the gift is we're spending time together. But one year we drew names and, really worked to understand who we were giving to and what might really appeal to them and bring them joy. A different year, we flipped it and we said, what's something you love that you want to share with your friends? And so we picked things that we loved and we wanted to, give this small thing to the other seven people. And so I remember Tyranny gave us scented soaps because that's something she loved. And Kim had a friend who made stationery. And so we all got a set of stationery because that was something she loved. And I think my long circular rambling at this point is giving yourself the grace of flexibility so that when you have a good idea, it doesn't like get locked in and it always has to be that way. We can flex with that, and we can even decide, okay, we're going to take a break and it's going to be just about being together this year too.
Yeah. Right. No, I think that is really good. I love what you said early on in the conversation about dreaming, because I do remember as a very young child, like that was something that I experienced too, where I would have the Target catalog or something like that. So, yes, that I think there's magic in dreaming and knowing that you're not going to get everything on your PowerPoint, everything on that, but here are the possibilities. I think that there is that wish list of saying like, yes, what could you want? What's something that you really want? And then also there's that idea then too of if somebody gives you a wish list and you then might have the opportunity to be like, yeah, I think this person would really benefit from this gift. Like they gave me a list of 10 things, but this one feels really fun for them or really like we would have a connection with it or maybe even having instead of thinking of literally of all the millions of things you could do or buy or make or give, like it's here's something out of 10, versus here's
Hmm.
something out of a million, like
Yeah.
which actually goes really well with kind of the other piece of like decision fatigue. I don't know about you, but I think the holidays at times have such a negative connotation, like, yes, it's the most magical time, and then also people are saying it the same way, and I'm exhausted, or I'm sad, or I have all these feelings about the holidays as well, and I think some of those feelings really do come from a sense of decision fatigue. You mentioned what I loved as well was that flexibility, and I think that keeping in with the flexibility of you don't have to do everything every year for the sake of nostalgia to remember that it's still special. And
Hmm.
and that might be part of a much bigger discussion on, on holidays that we should probably have, but or that we could have. But I think that there is something in there with that idea. Now, one thing I do want to ask, because this is a love it or hate it question when it comes to gift giving,
Okay.
your thoughts, and I feel like you kind of maybe alluded a little bit to it, but the gift card or the gift of money for a
Yeah.
gift.
Yeah.
And so again, I know people that love, people that hate, that all the feels. I know people that do gift card exchanges, like that's their thing. So what are your thoughts?
I think your question circles back to the idea of why we're giving gifts and, you know, having a good relationship, the connection with other people, the positive emotions. And so I don't think there is an answer to love it or hate it and gift cards. I think the answer is the situation. So you mentioned that there might be a group gathering where everybody's exchanging gift cards. And I think that can feel like fun game, right? Like you can make a game out of that. You're gathering with this group of people. You're really not going to buy 20 presents to make sure you've given a gift to every extended family member or work person that you colleague, in the room. But you can have fun if you come up with something like, hey, let's all pick a 10 or $20 gift card from this place and have fun with it. So that's one scenario. I myself love to shop. I love to shop. And so for me, receiving a gift card is exciting because it means I get to go shop and feel like I didn't spend money. My
Yes, I
daughter, yeah,
love that.
my daughter hates gift cards. Taylor does not like to get gift cards. And I know that about her. And I am in my head, picturing the year where like we got to Christmas Eve and I had nothing for her. And I made up all of these experiences in New York that I found online that I wanted to do with her. And so, it was just these pieces of paper. We're going to go to this event at Rockefeller Center. We're going to go do this, but we never did it because it wasn't real. It was me being desperate, and she doesn't love gift cards anyway. And in fact, we'll have a stack of them that she doesn't spend because it's not her thing. And so, if I truly want to enjoy the experience of finding something that feels special and giving it to her and letting it go and letting her decide what to do with it, I need to remember that I know that about her, right? I know she doesn't like gift cards. So to give her a gift card is I ran out of time for you message.
So I think that is fair. That's kind of the idea of knowing your audience, right? Because I can think of times like I don't mind gift cards. I don't mind giving, I don't mind getting. I like getting because like you said, I also like
Yeah.
shopping. And giving sometimes it's twofold. Sometimes, yep, it's the hey, I have this card for you. But like I remember one year for Jeremy, is his birthday and Christmas are in the same month. We had I went around to all the places that he would typically go to lunch with his friends and got him a gift card to every location
Like
that he
a
like a
bouquet of
bouquet.
lunch.
Yep. Yes. And that's what I did. I actually put them in like these little sleeves and like did all this because it was like, here, do this because he had talked about like, oh, I'm going to go have lunch with this person, but money's feeling a little slight this week. I don't know. We might go to Wendy's instead of going to Red Lobster or whatever, that type of thing.
Mhm.
So in thinking about it, I was like, okay, where could I get gift cards that would be on that week that he could still go do something, even if it was feeling a little lighter that week
Yeah. It was
in it.
thoughtful. It
Yeah,
was
in his way.
thoughtful.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was with a purpose. And so those were some of the gifts that I actually even really enjoyed giving, even though it was a gift card, because it was really purposeful and purpose driven behind it.
Yeah.
And so I that what we've kind of come around to is there's a lot to think about the gift giving.
Yeah.
And there is, I think the biggest part is the idea of when giving the gift, not giving an obligation, following the gift as deeply as the handoff, knowing why you gave a gift in the first place to show your love and, maybe a little bit of I was thinking about you and knowing the person that you're giving it to of how they might interpret the gift of time, the gift of a gift, the gift of a monetary or gift card, and also all of those things. But there really is kind of that the magic in I'm thinking of you.
Yeah. I was trying to write like what are the words that are bubbling to the top for me in terms of thinking about the holidays, right? You know, what do I want them to feel like and be like for myself and for the people of that I love? If I can move through the holiday anticipating and savoring and building connection, enjoying togetherness, and any of the gift giving aspect supports that, I'm going to be happy.
Thanks for tuning in to This Was Supposed to Be Easy. Remember, the best stories are the ones we live.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep the conversation going because life may not be easy, but listening in should be.
Stay curious, stay connected, and keep wondering.